I'm going to call this city council meeting to order. If you would all please stand and join me in the pledge. Right hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And if we could please get a roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Edmonds.
I am here.
Mayor McCall.
Here.
Councilmember Alex.
Here.
Councilmember Austin.
Here.
And Councilmember Villaseñor is absent.
Very good. Thank you. And how about an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries. So we have no presentations tonight. I'm going to move on to public comments. Don't have any speaker cards. Not sure if anybody here would like to speak, but now is your opportunity. So I see no one, so we're going to move right on. We're going to get on to the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Very good. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries. Okay, we are moving right along here. We're going to go to new business, item 8A. This is also a public hearing, so I'm going to turn this over to staff, and then actually I'm going to open the public hearing so that the staff report can be included into that. So I'll turn that over to staff.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Brian McCarthy. This item is the adoption of the density bonus update. So the density bonus is our ordinance that already exists, and this is an update to amend the ordinance to be consistent with recent state laws. This slide provides a brief summary of what is overall captured in those amendments. It's Fillmore Municipal Code Section 2.04.0417, so it adds certain definitions, makes eligibility requirements for density bonuses, increases the percent from 35 to 50%. That's probably the most significant aspect. It provides that 100% affordable projects with at least 80% lower income receive 4 incentives or concessions. Those are laxes on the ordinance of development standards. It amends the tables of the Fillmore Municipal Code to be consistent with those percentages. It reduces the percentage of affordable units required for lower income units to qualify for 2 and 3 concessions. And it reduces the parking requirements for 2 and 3 bedroom units. This gives you a table. This is pretty much the crux of the overall ordinance amendment. So this breaks down any percentages. So if you were to add, if you had a lot that was, say, allowed for 7 units in an acre, you could add, 50% of that and get you to 10 units, and then you would have, you would meet your 50% affordable. So you'd increase your unit count by 50% by adding 3 or 4 units. And then this table summarizes what the incentives are. So in this one, again, it increases the incentives for, I think it's 2 and 3. So again, those are laxing the development standards. Mostly what developers look for in these are reduction in parking demand, setbacks, height. We see a lot of open space, common open space in the development, or private open space such as balconies. Those are usually the ones that the developers like to reduce, as it obviously allows them to have more living space, which has a higher return on what that investment's going to be. Overall, the ordinance amendment is not considered an environmental impact, so it's determined exempt under the CEQA guidelines. And staff's recommendation is to approve the first reading of the zoning ordinance amendment 2104, ordinance 22935, to update the City Council's density bonus regulations consistent with state law and finding of exemption from CEQA. I can answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Yeah.
My question really isn't about this, but it is about how density and all that stuff. For several years, I've been asking that the area between 126 and Santa Clara be rezone for mixed use.
Mhm.
Will that be included anytime in anything?
We are looking at updating
I
the,
know we're doing the housing
yeah,
amendment.
we are doing an ordinance amendment for that to update the zoning there to allow for that higher density.
That would be very nice.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
Okay, I motion to
Hold
approve.
on, hold
Okay.
on. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing then if there's no more comments and questions of staff. And Mark, please proceed.
I'm going to motion to approve ordinance number 21-935, zoning ordinance amendment number 21-04, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Fillmore, California, amending Fillmore Municipal Code sections 6.040417 to update the density bonus standards for consistency with state law and finding of CEQA exemption.
I second it.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we're going to move right on to item number 8B. This is also a public hearing. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing so that the staff report can be included into that.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item is another zoning ordinance amendment, and this is to amend the accessory dwelling unit ordinance to prohibit accessory dwelling units in what we call the very high fire hazard severity zone. And the high fire hazard severity zone is mostly up along the foothills of the city. The fire department administers this zone, and you're not necessarily adopting a zone per se in our ordinance like we usually talk about. This ordinance would adopt what the state calls the high fire hazard severity zone. So it's CAL FIRE that actually produces these maps, and then the fire department, uses those maps to determine where that sort of wildland urban interface occurs, and the fire protection. You have special fire protection regulations that typically go within those zones. So that's a map of the area. And again, this is produced by CAL FIRE. This ordinance amendment is exempt from CEQA. There are no environmental impacts associated with this. And staff's recommendation is to adopt the resolution 22-1023 that the City Council approval of zoning ordinance amendment 2201 to prohibit accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in the very high fire hazard severity zone and finding of exemption from CEQA.
Okay, any
Answer any
questions for staff?
I do.
Go ahead, Lynn.
First of all, am I supposed to recuse myself from this since I live in that area? That means Mark and I would both have to recuse ourselves?
What do you think?
Do you both actually live in
In the fire zone.
that
Yeah.
red
Yeah.
in that red part?
Right.
That means you have very few people here to vote.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a court. Let me if the council doesn't mind taking a 5-minute recess.
Well,
let me.
why don't, oh yeah. that's true.
My off the cuff would just be it's always going to be the conservative advice to recuse yourself. There's an exception for if something's generally applicable, but I seem to recall there being a percentage of houses in the city as a whole that has to apply to. I want to say that it's 25%, and I don't know if we hit that here.
Definitely not.
Not.
Definitely
So,
not.
yeah.
Anywhere close.
With that, so I mean, one option would be to, I suppose we could continue it because we wouldn't have the votes to.
Can we recuse ourselves and they could do a 2-2? I mean, based on who's here? I mean, a 2-0?
I think if it was a 2-0, I mean, I think you'd need at least.
But it's not the majority of the
Then
council.
I think,
So-
well, we can wait for Christina, but I think I think that we're allowed to based on what Michael's saying. I mean, because who else is going to vote on it?
Yeah, I would. My thought would be to wait until we have the third.
Okay.
Is this something that we need to address quickly? Do we need to address this right away to get business done?
Not necessarily. I mean, we have some ADUs that are currently being proposed up there that we're processing, so they'll continue regardless.
Okay.
If we do get more submitted within this timeframe, it's maybe 1 or 2 at most.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 2 weeks.
So I'm going to close the public hearing for one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that's the prudent way to go.
I would, yeah, just to be safe, it's
Okay.
entirely possible I'm being overly cautious,
Okay.
but I would just say, and since it's already been noticed, what we could do is continue it
Okay.
to the next meeting, and then it doesn't need to be
Okay.
renoticed.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, we can nail that down. This isn't it's not tied to any the timing issues
Okay.
about applications coming in. It's
Okay.
not some outside timing requirement.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this item to our next regular meeting for discussion at that time. Okay, so we're going to move on right on to item 8C, and this is the creation of an ad hoc subcommittee, and I'll turn this over to staff.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here today to request City Council to create a Utilities Ad Hoc Committee. So the appointment will happen by the mayor, and then City Council will vote on it. As you can recall, during our December 14th meeting, we did have an ad hoc committee, but it was unanimously agreed to dissolve it, and since then, we've had multiple needs to create a new ad hoc committee. So some of those functions are, we're undergoing a utility rate study. We're also looking at the possibility of becoming part of a Clean Power Alliance. Those are just some of the functions that the need has come since December, and so I'm here to request you to either continue with the previous members that you had if you agreed to, which used to be Mayor Dan McCall and Councilmember Cristina Villaseñor, or if not, recommend a new appointment for this ad hoc committee. And that pretty much concludes my presentation.
I'm fine with leaving the same committee.
Does anybody else want to jump on it? You want to jump on it?
I'd be glad to do it for Christina until she comes back. I could be an alternate to her.
I don't know how quickly we're going to be meeting or how long she's going to be gone.
I don't know either.
Any idea when we need meetings set up?
Do you have any idea how long?
Well, you know what? Let me just stop that, though. I mean, we met with her tonight on Zoom.
Correct.
So
We could do it virtual.
I don't
Zoom,
think, we did Zoom tonight.
Okay.
She was in on a Zoom meeting with us this evening. So, all right, so if everybody wants to just leave it, then I'll make the recommendation that we leave it. Myself and Christina Villaseñor are on that ad hoc committee.
Okay. I will update the council member appointments and send out an email.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8D, and this is a request approval of a contract with Recusal Consultants, and I'll turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. This item involves the North Fillmore specific plan, which you may know is already underway for an amendment, and we're hoping to have a public draft of that available here in the next coming weeks, couple of weeks or so. This contract is for the environmental component of that amendment, and this environmental consultant would review the changes to the North Fillmore specific plan and update the CEQA component or the EIR that was prepared for that plan. They'll go through that EIR and make additional findings to show that the revised plan doesn't trigger any new or increased severity of impacts of that old EIR. And that's what an addendum is. It doesn't have a big distribution time frame with the state. It just gets packaged up with the staff report. Most of the changes are inconsequential, kind of cleaning up, and per implementing Measure I, it's actually a reduction in land use intensity. So overall, it'll be reductions in impacts, all the way across the board on each of the EIR issues. So this contract, you had actually already approved one similar for this particular contractor. And so there was a little bit of money left in the tank when this process started. So we're going to utilize a large portion of that toward this. So staff recommends that you approve the contract with Rincon Consultants to do the addendum. It'll be done in about 3 weeks or so. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Rincon did the original study.
That's correct.
And that was in 2002?
You're good. It's close. 6. I think it was when
Six.
it started in 2, probably.
We know.
Or sooner.
We're very familiar with that. Okay, good. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I recalled that correctly. Okay, any other questions for staff? No? Any recommendations?
I move to approve the contract with Rincon Consultants.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, so with that, we are going to move on to item 9, committee, commission, and board reports. Okay, Lynn, we'll put you up first.
I went, today I had 3 meetings, including, this is the 4th, and I went this morning to the Cal Lutheran Economic Forecast. And I've gone before, and they're always so well done. It's just amazing. This one was really sad because it paints a very difficult picture for our county. They ended with hope, and that would be wonderful if that is a possibility. Their main point, and they had many, many points, of course, is that during the pandemic, the people that benefited from the pandemic were the high-end earners. People who could stay home and do it remotely, or people who were getting, you got a percentage of what you earned in the government, so they got big money back. Whereas if you didn't earn much, you didn't get much money. And the people that, and the government, in our state, many companies are leaving. And they're not leaving because they don't like our state. They're leaving because no one can afford to live here, particularly our county. And that's why so many people are leaving. And our county has had many, many people leave, and they're mostly in the low-income area. And the hope they gave us at the end was that if we could provide housing that's affordable for low income, that will raise the economics of the whole county. And some places like Ventura are already doing all kinds. They've even looked at tiny homes, I guess. And because of that, they're in a more healthy position. That was the end call of this. And it was staggering. I didn't expect that information. They're a very highly respected group that did the presentation, and they said that the advantage of our county is that we care about each other and that people work together to solve problems. And I'm hoping that we'll continue to learn more about what this means and move ahead with that. And then the good part was at the Air Pollution Control Board, we gave out $2,800,000 for farmers, primarily for new equipment that is more air pollution, less polluting. And they have to match it, so, but some of that equipment is very, very expensive. And so the $2,800,000 went to 32 different individuals that purchased forklifts and tractors and that kind of thing. So it's exciting that we're helping people in our community. And that's it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. I'm gonna skip that. I was gonna say I had a. It's okay. I had a animal control board meeting, and it had more to do with budgetary issues. So obviously, Erica, you're up on that. Make sure that you're tuning in. I know there's a lot of things coming and changing. So the other thing I noticed when I was coming over the hill today is they had a spay and neuter clinic RV coming down the hill as I was leaving town. So I know that they are really truly focusing a lot on Fillmore, so keep your eyes out for those types of notifications if you're looking for spay and neuter services that are free or low cost. They are coming to Fillmore more often, so continue to check the county website for those bits of information. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on to City Council reports, recommendations, and comments. Anyone?
Well, I could say I had a wonderful tour, and this is hard to believe, to the toll and dump. It was really fun, and I was amazed at the amount of environmental consciousness that they do and the process, and it's so technical, and it was such a good time. I never expected to have fun at a dump, but it was really
Pretty
nice.
interesting, actually. It is interesting. I'll give that to you. Okay, so if anybody else, no comments? Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager's report.
Well, I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay, well, I have to say that in the last year that I can think of, we set a record tonight, 20 minutes. So, wow. But with that, I'm going to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting. We have no closed session this evening, so that will be March 22nd, and that's right here, City Council Chambers at 6:30. Thank you, and have a great couple weeks.